Oh, there we go. That's better. Okay. Let me pull up my thing here real quick. Oh my god. Okay. Get this to start charging. Let's see. I'm probably gonna do this for about an hour.
Difficult for believers to
Oh,
answer.
that's not it.
I recently saw.
Shut up, shut up. There you go. Now I need a photo to fucking put on this thing. Nope, that's not it. Fucking hate this stupid thing. What the fuck do you mean 1 and then 2? That's not it. Where's the thing to be able to change? Oh, there's the... Oh, it's effects. There we go. Now where is my... And I don't have it saved? Are you kidding me? You have to give me a minute. Okay. There we go. That works. Okay, let's go live and see how it does. Test, 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 test. I hope I'm able to be fucking heard. Auto accept guest requests? That's a thing? No, I'm not auto accepting anything. Are you kidding me? Okay. Let's see how this goes for a bit. Gonna pull up Discord so I can keep an eye on that too. Any second now. Anybody want to join? Check out the thing. Gotta keep talking just because of the fact that I need to talk in order to make sure people want to join and stuff like that. So, yeah. Is there anything going on Discord? Maybe I can do a Discord thing or two. Oh, hi, Max. What's up? What's up? More likes can attract more viewers? Okay, okay. Oh my gosh, I am so tired. Ba, 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 ba. Okay. Anybody want to debate or anything? Let's see. Oh wait, I can wave to say hi. Hello. Hello, Max. Hello, Crystal. Looks like a few people joined. Hello, hello. Hello, 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 hello. How's everybody doing? Okay. I can see top viewers. Okay. Still learning how to use all of this stuff. Hello, hello. Hi there. Uh-huh, uh-huh. Hey, anti-wokeness, I see you join. What's up? Oh my gosh. Gonna wave at you. Oh my gosh, man, I am so fucking tired. Oh my gosh. That's not what I'm streaming. Okay, just making sure everything's okay over there. Somebody say something or one new message, guest request. Okay. Accept. Oh wait, there's a new message I saw apparently. Quentin, can you hear me?
What up?
Hey, what's up, man? What's up? What's up?
Slick, what do you mean your morality isn't real?
Well, I mean that in quite a literal sense. Morality doesn't exist, and because I'm an egoist, I see absolutely no reason to follow any kind of moral system.
So, okay.
Let me lay out my 2 criteria real quick because this is usually where it'll shut down within like 2 to 3 minutes. My
Yeah,
two
no, please
criteria
go ahead.
my 2 criteria for morality is, can you prove it exists independent of the mind? And also, oh my gosh, I'm really fucking tired mentally. I'm so sorry. I forgot the. Oh yeah. There is, and also prove that there is an enforcement mechanism for it that is independent of like just another person with another set of values that you may or may not like, right?
Yeah.
Prove it materially exists, and prove that there is some sort of enforcement mechanism that isn't just yet another person with its own moral values.
Right.
Those are my 2 criteria as an egoist regarding morality and it being real or not.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm Christian, so a lot of my morals kind of line with that. But like, if you kind of like strip that away, like I've always gone about myself as like trying to just like be a good person, like do good deeds. So I don't know if that like just like doing good, like being good and like doing good things for other people, no matter what, is like a moral type thing. But
Well, I mean, it depends on what good means because good can mean different things to different people, is the thing. It's not really objective.
Yeah.
And I mean, from your worldview, sure, as a religious person, it can be, but from like, I'm strictly agnostic. I'm not an atheist or a theist personally, so I don't know where that is. So my mind's always open to being changed on like theism and stuff like that, and morality as well. But I just haven't heard a compelling argument yet, personally.
Well, like when it comes to me, when it comes to like when it like a good deed, I feel like for most people, it's like let's say if um a person's in front of you, right?
Mhm.
It's a single mother and she is like $5 short of like getting groceries for her and her kids, and you give that other five, like that's a morally good thing to do, right?
Well, I mean, I would say that you're well intentioned in doing it, but in terms of it being good, you have to actually prove that it is objectively good in the sense that you're appealing to some sort of like cosmic, abstract, or possibly embodied concept like God or something like that, or this abstract concept of justice that atheists will appeal to and stuff, right? I just don't see it at like I make a difference, like I said, between well intentioned and this concept, abstract concept of good. Because what if somebody else finds it not good because they don't like that you gave it to, let's say, a black person or something like that? In their eyes, it would be bad.
Yeah, no, I see that.
Hmm.
No, I'm kind of messing with it. Yeah, no.
I told you, it can be shut down pretty quick. It's perfect for TikTok, but horrible for debate panels.
Well, it's not. Yeah, it's not really like shutting down. I'm just like trying to process it.
Yeah, for sure. You're completely
Because
fine with that, dude.
I'm trying my best not to like bring my religion too much into it because I can like spark arguments and stuff like that. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to have like a nice civil debate and stuff like that. And so
Oh, let me respond to chat real quick. I just saw somebody named Quail say they're an Egos too, and they have a question. Go ahead and put it in, and I'll respond whenever you want, whenever you put it in, or I'll also accept your guest request if you want to join up or anything like that.
Yeah, if he wants to
Um,
join it, you can just kick me. That's perfectly
no, I'm
fine.
not gonna kick you. You're completely fine.
Alright.
As long as you don't say anything bad, that is, or you can leave if you want. It doesn't really matter to me personally.
No, I'm just trying to think of like other things to bring up, but
Yeah,
I feel
for
like
sure. Go for it. You can take
that's
your
like my
time.
main thing, really.
Let's see.
It's just like, yeah, I guess like no matter how you look at it, like your morals might look different for others.
hmm
So
Oh, I brought Quail in here. Hey, Quail.
How you doing?
What's
So
up?
my question for you, I guess, would be: do you think that like the NAP is a spook? Like, do you think that the idea of you can act in favor of your own ego up until it violates somebody else's, whatever you may call it, ego or liberty or what have you?
Um, I wouldn't say it's a spook until you try to place it above your own self-interest or try to enforce it as like a morally correct thing. I don't have an issue with you using it as a like guiding principle for yourself, but don't try to force it on to me or anybody else, I would say. That's when it
Okay,
kind of
so
becomes a
you think
spook.
that the interest that you have in acting in favor of your own ego would go above somebody else's, not morals particularly. Basically, what I'm trying to ask you is: would you use something that you know would harm somebody else in some way to further yourself or your own goals or your own ego?
Well, it depends on the positives and negatives, and I would also say that I generally just don't like hurting people because I don't gain any kind of psychological pleasure or anything from it. So I would say, generally speaking, hurting other people inherently is against my self-interest from that aspect in terms of like
Yeah.
the mental side of things, just because I have
Mhm.
empathy and that doesn't go away when you abolish morals or whatever like that.
I want to give you a hypothetical, and
Mhm.
it's a little bit brash because that's the nature of hypotheticals, right? Obviously, this isn't a situation that happens often in real life.
Yeah.
Let's say we have like two pedestrians, and one of them chooses to, I don't know how to say this with TikTok, up fi and like just pop the other guy in the stomach. Is that a violation of one or the other's ego, or is that acceptable under your ideology?
I'm sorry, I was just bringing another guy up since he had a question, but
Okay.
can you repeat yours real quick?
Yeah. Let's say two people are like we have two pedestrians, and
Mhm.
one of them chooses to like just pop the other guy in the stomach. Is that a violation of his own ego and your ideal? And let's assume that your ideology is implemented worldwide. Would that violate anything?
I mean, you could violate anybody's ego whenever you want. You could violate anybody's self-interest whenever you want, but you're gonna most likely face consequences for it, such as like societal backlash, ostracization, probably being tossed in jail right now since, states exist everywhere.
Oh yeah. Well, shit. Okay, then I agree with you. Never mind. I'm gonna debate you.
No,
You
you're
have a good
good, you're
night, man.
good. Have a good one, dude. Hello,
Yeah, it's
Jeffrey.
common.
What's up? What's up?
Not too. No, just to clarify, because I just came in a minute ago.
Mhm.
You said your morality isn't real.
I
Are
don't
you
adhere to
saying
any
that
I'm
your sense of morality?
can you
Sorry, continue.
Oh, I was just gonna say, to clarify, I don't adhere to any moral framework. I am an egoist, which basically means I act entirely in what I deem to be in my self-interest.
Okay. Um, can that be described as a moral compass, as a personal moral compass?
Well, it depends on how you define morality, because I see morality as this like as these various frameworks or ideas that dictate the concepts of right and wrong, good or evil, stuff like that. And they basically act as like these rulers upon you, or like ghosts or something like that, that compel you to act against your own self-interest in various ways, or at one point or another at least, such as like self-sacrifice or something like that, right? Or going to a protest and getting yourself arrested
Okay.
for somebody halfway across the world, like with the Gaza protests and stuff like that. I think that's pretty silly personally, but you can do your own thing, obviously.
So, do you think that being arrested for going to a protest on behalf of someone who will never know your name,
hmm
right? Is that someone providing an exhibition of where their moral compass lies, or is that them asserting some sort of free will behavior?
Well, I mean, of course, they're exhibiting
I mean,
a free will
yeah.
behavior because it's their free will to go and do that. But if you ask them, do you think it's in your best interest to get a criminal record for somebody halfway across the world that you'll never even know and they won't ever know you? And they admit, yes, but I'm doing it anyways because it is quote unquote the right thing to do. They are self-admittedly acting against their own deemed self-interest. And that's like the big thing that I have an issue with morality, besides the fact that it just flat out doesn't exist. It doesn't with my two criteria being it doesn't exist independent of the mind, and it has no enforcement mechanism besides possibly the state.
Right.
Mhm.
Or groupthink, I guess.
Yeah.
But okay, so I mean, like, I was trying to find a working definition. So Oxford defines it as the principles of distinctions indicating what is right or wrong.
Mhm.
Right. So when you say that you're an egoist, does that mean that you have no concept of right or wrong?
I don't believe in right or wrong, no. I believe in actions that can hurt or help people, and I generally do like actions that help people, personally, but I don't believe in the concept of right or wrong.
Okay. So for clarity, like, if someone walked up to an innocent bystander and shot them dead,
Mhm.
is that a good thing that happened, or is it a bad thing?
Well, I don't believe in good or bad, so I can't say it's neither, but what I will say is that I find it incredibly gross and it makes me recoil at the thought. Like, I saw Charlie Kirk get shot, and I'm not going to say that's right or wrong, like I said in a YouTube video that I made a little bit ago, because of the fact that I'm an egoist and I don't believe in right or wrong. But I will admit that even seeing him, somebody who embodies everything that I hate, get shot like that, it absolutely horrified me. I condemn it entirely. I do not like seeing people get hurt like that. But that's because the disgust that I feel is my own, and I don't have to outsource it to some sort of abstract concept of right or wrong.
Okay, so just for clarity,
Mhm.
do you like your opinion on Charlie Kirk getting shot is that it was something abhorrent that didn't go with your personal self interest?
I would say it's something that I didn't like watch happen, and it makes me feel gross that he is now dead, personally. I don't like seeing people dead in general, unless it's Hitler.
You don't. Yeah, of course. Um, so the thing is, like, when you say things like "it makes me sick," right? That's a negative experience to feel sick.
Well,
You
yeah,
know,
it's like a
when
psychological thing. You can't really get rid of those emotions, even once you get rid of
right,
morality.
right there. Yeah, these things impact you negatively,
Mhm.
right? So another, I don't know, a synonym for negative could be bad, right? So like the only thing that separates your outlook from like this general Oxford definition of morality is the fact that you will not use words like good or bad to describe the impact of the ongoings in your environment or your actions. So like and I couldn't even argue that it's a thin line. I mean, you exist within the definition of morality, right?
Well,
You just
when it comes to the definition of morality and stuff, when you say the concepts of right or wrong, that usually means good or evil, and appealing to these abstract concepts, or you're appealing to religion or something that doesn't tangibly exist independent of the mind, which is where I take issue with it.
well, I think that if you expand it past the definition provided by things like the Oxford Dictionary, into good and evil. Yeah, I mean, I think the good and evil, or good is not really like the right word. And evil is such an extreme word.
Mhm.
There should be a better word for good. But you're looking at two, um, opposing ends of the spectrum: totally bad and totally good, totally good, totally evil.
Well, who
Right? But
determines
that's
good
not
and
how.
evil?
Well, that's my point. I agree with you
Mhm.
emphatically. Like, but the thing is, that's not how morality is defined. Like in any working definition, I mean, like you can have like the religious people, define it that way, but like, the layman's definition, or the secular definition that is used on, say, the SAT, right? That's
SAT?
it's good. Yeah, like in like a vocab environment, right? Like a academic environment. Um, is just good and bad. We don't necessarily talk about good and evil unless you're, you know, diving into like I don't know something metaphysical or something.
Well, good and evil
Um,
are just like basically theist words for right and
of
wrong.
course,
Like people
right?
will
Which is why
say
I
murder is
they don't apply.
wrong,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
but
Yeah,
you can't really prove it's actually wrong without appealing to something, whether it's God or whether it's an abstract concept of righteousness, justice, which, in my personal opinion, are just different kinds of religion, except you're not appealing to something that has like a physical embodiment like
okay.
God or something like that.
So then I guess you would agree that your concept of egoism, right, is it's just an abstract concept based on a subjective truth, right? Because the truth is, like, what you find good or bad or palatable today, right? You might not have, 10 years ago, and you might not in 10 years from now. So it's a subjective truth given your experience within your environment today, right? So it's just as abstract as the concept of morality that is being either pushed by religious ideology or just, the state. You know
Well,
what
I
I mean?
mean,
So
all egoism is the belief that I can act in my own self-interest without being persuaded or compelled by any kind of outside force. So, what primarily morality in the case of Max Stirner. So, I wouldn't necessarily call that abstract because it is pretty specific in what it is and what it wants, especially for the particular egoist such as myself. But I think the concepts of
it
right,
is.
wrong, good, evil are the things that are very abstract.
Well, it is abstract because I'm talking about it from your perspective,
Mhm.
right? You're talking about how you are an egoist and you determine, validity based on, how it interacts with your understanding of self, or the events of your life, right?
Mhm.
But how you felt 10 years ago and what you were doing 10 years ago is probably different than what you're doing now and how you feel now,
Yeah.
right? Because unless you're stunted, which I don't think you are, but
I've grown
but
politically.
and then again, like in 10, 15, 20 years, you know you'll be in the same spot where you felt, one way today, but in 20 years you'll feel completely different. So again, like your concept of defining the validity of events around you or your own actions is again based on a subjective truth
Well, let me. Is it okay if I interrupt real
given
quick, or do you want
given
to
the time
finish?
period. Yeah, it's just abstract because there's no defined line. It's not like
I mean, I
it's
can
like
give a defined
yeah.
line. I gave it to the other guy. I forgot to give it to
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
I have two different criteria. Can you prove morality exists independent of mind, and can you prove morality has some sort of enforcement mechanism besides other people holding X moral views like the state or something? If you can prove that morality exists outside of those two things,
What
then
was
I'll
the
be a
second thing?
moralist again.
What was
The
the second
second
thing?
thing is proving that morality has an enforcement mechanism that isn't just yet another person with a moral framework.
It isn't so I'm trying to understand. So I trying to understand if I tell me if I'm answering this like in alignment with what you're talking about.
Sure.
So, first of all, like outside of so Oxford Dictionary defines it as the principles or distinctions making dictating whether things are right or wrong.
Hmm.
Right? It's as simple as that. It has nothing to do with feelings,
Can you prove principles
or
exist?
emotions. So I mean, 2 plus 2, whether the human mind is operating, is still 2 plus 2 equals 4.
Well,
Right? It's
that's not a
still there's
principle,
still
really. That's math. That's a
so
tool.
hold on. So again, the equation in and of itself is the explanation that when you add 2 plus 2, you get to the sum of 4, right? So the principles, being put together are 2 and 2, right? And the sum being 4. It's not 5 because that's wrong. It's not 6 because that's wrong. It's 4. Okay, so like the concept of right and wrong exists outside of the mind.
Do you think that
Seven.
do you think principles in the context of the definition of morality is the same principles that we use when we're talking about math?
So here's the
Do you
thing.
think
I
2 plus
understand.
2 equals
Let's
4 is a
hold on.
morally
Let's
right position or
I
something?
understand.
Or
I understand the way in which morality is discussed, but I also understand the way it's defined by Dictionary, right? So to be fair, they don't cite feelings, right? They don't cite
Mhm.
hopes and dreams. Okay, they say principles making the distinction
Well, yeah,
between right and wrong.
what kind of principles though? Mathematical principles, philosophical principles, ethical
That's my
principles?
thing. It doesn't say. It does not say in the definition.
Well, I think
You
it
know,
could
you,
be implied based on what we're talking about, especially considering the definition that everybody else uses, which is the realm of philosophy. Math isn't philosophy. Oh, is he okay? I see he got mute. Oh,
okay,
you're back. Okay.
so the concept of morality is used in math, right? To indicate whether things are right or wrong. Okay, so like the word morality in and of itself, right, does not specifically speak to the feelings brought on by one action or another, dictating whether or not it's right or wrong. Okay, it can be applied in multiple fields. So so then the answer is definitively yes. Okay, morality can be justified outside of the mind through the lens that I discussed. What was the second part you were talking about?
The fact that we're talking about principles in a moral context here, and principles in this case are talking about philosophy, not mathematics. Those are two entirely different fields. Not to mention, somebody just brought up in my YouTube chat that Oxford Dictionary is not an exhaustive authority on philosophical concepts, considering how
I so I agree.
complex
I agree.
philosophy
But,
is.
but if you recall, your prompt here says your morality is unreal.
Well, yeah, and I gave
Right.
you two criteria, and the best thing you can
Right.
do is point to the Oxford Dictionary, and you haven't proven principles actually exist as a tangible thing independent of the mind.
Yeah. So the laws of math exist regardless
But
of
we're
whether
not
or not.
talking about math. We're
No,
talking
I
about.
understand, but listen to what I'm saying. Your thing says your morality isn't real, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't talk about good and evil. It doesn't talk about what is just which actions are justified. When they evoke XYZ feelings, right? It just says morality. Okay, so I understand, but the definition of morality, as derived from Oxford Dictionary,
You know, the
says just
Oxford
what it says.
Dictionary isn't the only place where you can get a
So
definition of
I,
morality,
I
right?
listen. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
I
Your
mean, I
prompt is
get what you're
cool.
saying, but the issue is I
Okay,
think you're making a
okay,
false
that's fine.
equivalency between mathematics and philosophy.
So here's the thing: you asked me if moral principles exist outside of the mind. Okay, the answer, no matter listen, I understand you want to talk about the concept of good and evil. Okay, but it doesn't change the fact that moral principles exist outside of the mind. That was the question.
Do you
Okay,
think mathematics is a moral
if you
principle?
want,
Because that's the
so,
example
so
that you used.
so hold on. If you want to talk about the you know human interaction with the world, okay, of course these are internal constructs that exist only within the minds. But morality as a word doesn't only apply to those internal constructs. Is what I'm saying.
So morality also applies to mathematics.
Yeah.
I've I- I've never heard of that one before, but okay. I just want to be entirely clear. I'm talking more about philosophy. Not to mention
Okay.
mathematics can be physically demonstrated
Then
by
yes.
grabbing
Then
two
yes.
things,
Yes.
getting two
Yes.
things. You can't
Con-
demonstrate
Right.
philosophy.
So constructs that exist within the human mind, without the human mind, they don't exist. Obviously, that's an obvious.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I think we're probably mostly in agreement here. We might just be on two different pages regarding how we're defining morality because as you get you're probably not familiar with the guy on screen, but that's Max Stirner and he's like a ex-young
yeah,
Hegelian guy. I'm talking about
yeah,
morality philosophically speaking. I didn't know that you can connect morality to mathematics.
yeah.
So,
That's okay. Um. So so by getting up here and talking about egoism,
mhm.
right? What are you trying to prove something to the person you're speaking to? Are you trying to understand better? What are you hoping to gain from a conversation like this?
Maybe change some minds. Personally, it's just mostly for fun for me. Good thought experiments keeps the brain
Okay.
going. Considering I get punched in the head a lot when I do kickboxing.
So, well, you think you get kicked in the head a lot? But
Well,
that was
both.
a joke. That was a
Yeah,
joke.
you're
That was
good.
a
You're
joke.
good.
So the question is you know, you obviously look. I know that you're not gonna say it. I know that you're gonna have a workaround to describe it to me,
Mhm.
but you know that there's a reason why it's best not to go out in the street and shoot people. Okay, you can talk about it, operating in your own self-interest because then you'd have to go to jail, and then jail would suck. It's bad is a synonym for sucking, right?
Mhm.
It all works its way around to the concept of some shitty experience, right? And that not being your own personal self-interest. So what is the difference between me and you? Is it that I understand the derivative of these concepts, being primarily religion based, and then I just make them a part of my life, right? Because one of the things you're talking about to the other guy was the concept of the state, right? And
Mhm.
how their jurisdiction, you know, kind of forces you to live within this bubble of this concept of reality. Morality,
Mhm.
right? So if you shoot somebody in the street, you get to go to jail because they're telling you that's wrong and that's bad. You know, I mean, it kind of feels like you're just kind of saying it's not in my best interest to commit murder because then I have to go to jail. Then I have to like stop doing this job I really like. Then I have to stop having these great conversations with Joey Ramone and all these things. Like, so I guess my question is, do people really sit around and say, I don't do this because it's evil, or do you think that the majority of people are like, if I do this, I have to go to jail, and then that sucks.
Well, I think it's probably a combination of both. Most people believe in the concept of right and wrong or good or evil or some form of that, so they don't do actions that are colloquially considered bad. And that's part of the reason, obviously. And then the other part of the reason is they don't want to go to jail, obviously.
So, I mean, have you talked
I
to
don't
someone?
I mean, like it's a multifaceted thing, and everybody has their own reasons. But generally speaking, I do think it's probably a balance of both self-interest and also appealing to some form of morality, whether it's subjective or objectivism or whatever.
So I'm trying to. I mean, have you ever spoke to someone that stands on the pedestal of I don't do this because it's wrong, right? I mean, like the truth is, people who
Well,
say stuff
yeah,
like that,
some people.
listen, people who say stuff like that, like let's just think about the crazy Christians for a minute, okay? Like the crazy ones, okay? Like they're telling you that because they want to be right with Jesus,
Mhm.
right? So like they might say it's wrong, but they're also telling you that they want to be right with Jesus. So that nullifies the concept that they're doing it in service of this, moral code.
Oh, like everything's derived in self-interest at the end of the day, kind of thing.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
Yeah, I'm a psychological egoist. I do think that's pretty much the main thing at the end of the day. They appeal to morality in hopes that they get something out of it.
well, it's like you see on TV or you hear things where people who aren't religious are like enduring something really scary,
Mhm.
or they're worried, so they pray, right? They don't know how to pray, they don't know why they're praying, but it's like I'm just praying just in case. You know what I mean? Like
I
I think
think
that the
I've seen that a
concept.
couple times.
Well, I think my point is like, you know, people, like to believe that there's, this structure in place or this, thing that's going to back them up, whether it be God or faith or whatever,
Mhm.
And so people say things like that you shouldn't do that. That's wrong. But what they really should say is you shouldn't do that because if you do that, this person's going to do this, and it's going to impact you this way, right? I mean,
Mhm.
I don't think that like anyone just like gets up and says, I don't do this because it's wrong. No, they don't do that because they don't want to suffer whatever the consequence is on
Yeah,
the other
I agree
end.
with that.
So I think that the concept of morality is really just kind of something we sit around and twist our mustaches about. Like, I think that, I mean, I don't think I've ever met a person who is just like, does not operate in their own self interest and not in like a vain way, right? But like I'm trying to like have a good life, and this is the appropriate step to take to do that, right? So I don't know that like the concept of egoism relative to morality, someone who observes morality in the context that we're talking about is at all different from you in any sense. And I think that the problem
It's called what
is
you're
that
talking
I'm not
about.
saying
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Um,
Sorry.
what you're talking about is called psychological egoism, which is basically the idea that all actions are driven by self-interest no matter what, which is also what I adhere to personally. But what I was acknowledging earlier is is like the nuance where people will act a certain way because of this concept of right or wrong, but it's also they don't act in wrong ways because of the psychological distress that comes from acting in those bad ways, which also does derive into self-interest at the end of the day. So I do agree with that. I do.
So can you tell me like if I'm trying to think, have you met a person that operates based on their moral compass first, and then is concerned about the personal impact.
Personal impact what?
So that I'm really just trying to understand because, you know, the concept of morality is obviously, a construct created by humans,
Mhm.
right? Like, and I understand this is your point. Like, there was no like, like the dinosaurs, right? They didn't have the understanding of, morality that we do, right?
Mhm.
As a developed society. So like, I think that, you know, I don't want to call people stupid, but like if people who come up here and try to argue with you about morality totally exists independent of anything else, Like they're just kind of too dumb to look inward.
I mean,
and
I haven't
say,
debated about it enough on TikTok to find out how many people actually think it exists. So
"Damn, dude, I was hoping you'd have some good stories." Well, yeah.
I have a
mean,
couple of I have a couple of abortion debates though on my YouTube channel. You can see.
oh, that's always fun. Um, but yeah, dude, I don't know. I mean, I think that all humans act in their self-interest. I mean, like people, human beings have operated in, with self-interest in mind forever. Whether like before people could even converse with one another, they're trying to preserve their life,
Mhm.
And the lives of the people in their group, and that I think, maybe now we've become even way more individualistic, right? So it's more so about self-interest than it was, thousands of years ago.
To a certain extent,
Uh,
yes. I do think we probably agree a lot more than we disagree. I do recommend some of Stirner's work, most notably Stirner's Critics and also The Unique in Its Property. I do definitely recommend you read those and also check into Psychological Egoism as well, because that's pretty much what you're describing as far as my understanding goes of that.
Yeah. So you said Stirner is a follower of Jung. Is that what you said?
No, I don't
Earlier?
think I ever
Just
said that. He's
I
not really a
may
follower
have
of
missed that.
no. Oh, yeah, let me clarify. Stirner used to be a young Hegelian back like during his early days, and then he eventually ended up splitting off with them because he ended up becoming completely amoral, and he like tore into like half the young Hegelians when he dropped The Unique in Its Property, or as it's more well known, The Ego in Its Own.
So I guess let me ask you this. Like, obviously, I agree with you. Like almost completely. I think,
Mhm.
but I think also like, by citing your existence as an egoist, right?
Mhm.
Without expressing your own internal thought, can you tell me how your life is different from someone that feels like this concept of morality is maybe not like a structure that exists outside the human mind, but is a structure that exists in some way, shape, or form.
Well, yeah, for
What is
sure.
your
Well,
yeah?
before,
Without citing your internal thought,
without citing my internal thought, you caught me at a time
because
when I'm super exhausted from like
it's okay.
fighting and stuff outside, so I'm trying to think here how to formulate this. Would saying
Because
that I don't feel guilt about certain actions anymore count?
Can you tell me, like, give me an example?
I
Something you
don't
don't
feel
feel
bad about not leaving 20% tips anymore at restaurants. I used to do that all the time, but now I leave maybe slightly less, or if I'm at Starbucks, for example, I don't leave any anymore. I know I'm probably a demon now, but
Well, let me ask you this: why did you stop leaving 20%? Assuming you were, giving 20% before.
because I don't need to.
Why do you not need to?
Because I don't feel it's the right thing to do.
Why do you feel it's not the right thing to do?
Because there's no such thing as the right thing to do.
Mm. So, why did you do it before? Because you felt like it was the right thing to do. What
Kind of
did
like
you?
because I felt sympathy on their end, and I feel morally obligated to do it just because of the fact that they go through a lot of shit and stuff like that as service workers. And I do still empathize with that, but it's just like at a certain point, you can't just give out 20% tips forever, especially when you're strapped for cash. So you have to balance, from my perspective, I have to balance out, is it worth leaving an extra $5 for this person to be able to afford, I don't know, fucking cake pop at Starbucks, or is it more better for me to hold the $5 so I can afford a cake pop at Starbucks, or put it towards something else like a bill or whatever?
I think most people would say the answer is don't eat out.
You'd be
You know,
you'd kind of be surprised how many people just like don't leave tips or leave tips too much to the point where it's at their own detriment kind of thing. I've seen some people kind of,
yeah. And I guess you don't see that as something that could negatively impact you. Therefore,
not
you
leaving
feel
a 20% tip.
yeah.
Realistically, no, unless somebody is really strict on wanting to get 20% tips.
Or if you go back to that restaurant and someone gives you a hard time, and it becomes a pain in the ass. Or if they like you go to the restaurant and like it takes 3 hours for you to eat, one hamburger.
Like I
You know what
still
mean?
leave
'Cause
I
they're-
still leave something, obviously. You kind of have to in
No,
America because of
listen,
the culture here, but
I'm not saying. Listen, I understand. Like, trust me, I have been met with the, flip the screen around at fucking like, wherever. Like, I totally
it's
get it. I understand.
everywhere these
My-
days,
my-
man.
But my question is like, there do you not like if you're trying to act in your own self-interest, right?
Mhm.
Like I can think of a multitude of like examples that I've seen within like my friend group in my life, whatever, in which like you know, in specifically like the food industry, it's come back to bite them in the ass. Like for example, like I had a friend who like used to tip really shitty. He's about a friend 15 years ago, but a guy I used to know, and like he really hated spicy food. And we used to go to this burrito place all the time.
Mhm.
And then one day, the people got sick of it. That he would never tip. Right, so they like loaded his burrito up with this like the hottest fucking shit, and it was a disaster. So like that is a way that it can come back and bite you in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
ass.
for sure. Yeah, it'll bite him in the ass, and then it will probably be in his self-interest going forward to tip them so that doesn't happen, right?
Perfect.
So that would be
So
a good
now,
example of that going into his self-interest for sure. Yeah, but we were just talking about an example of me changing kind of like how I do stuff, and I just kind of cited like using
no, of
leaving
course.
tips as an example.
Well, the reason why I brought that up is because you're talking about operating self-interest,
Mhm.
right? But hopefully, like you don't ever have an experience like that going to whatever restaurants you frequent, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, but you acknowledging the possibility that you're harming your own self-interest, meaning like you go to this restaurant and you spend whatever money you have to eat there, and they like fuck with your food, in like a way like that, right? Or it's terrible service, makes you late for an appointment, whatever. Like now we're talking about the your
Long term.
expression of self-interest, now in harming your own self.
Well, yeah, there's of course like short-term and long-term self-interest as well. You can't if I would be an idiot if I were to be a guy who says I act in my self-interest, yet do stuff that only benefits me the short term and then hurts me in the long term, right? There is nuance to it. You do have to find a balance and balance pros and cons, such as with tipping and how much to tip and stuff, so you don't end up getting a bunch of fucking hot beans in your mouth or whatever the fuck. But um, so
I
there's
guess
nuance to it, obviously, yeah.
okay. So if you showed up to work on Monday and they were like, Paul, dude, we're cutting your pay in half.
Hmm.
That's it. Okay. Well, how would you react to that?
Find another job.
Now the market's changed. Now, all the comp is lower than what you were receiving, before you got your pay cut in half, right?
Like, are you talking about
Now
across the
you're
board with all jobs or?
so the point that I'm trying to make is like, how do I say it? Like, if I'm trying to explain this in a way that it isn't like you shouldn't do that. Like that's not right. Like
Mhm.
I guess when I look at my own personal interests, right? Like I think about scenarios like that. Like if I tip 5% or whatever you're tipping now, and this person suffers as a result of it, like is that something that I would be able just to eat? You know what I mean? Like if they cut my pay in half, and I couldn't go get another job, the market was tight or whatever. Like, is that something I can just eat, or that proved to be a serious detriment to my life? You know, I guess I'm backing up on this concept of morality, baby, because it just I don't know. I mean, like I don't know. You shouldn't fuck with people's pay. That's all
Well,
I'm
yeah,
saying.
I mean, I'm not trying to get
Oh,
their wages decreased or anything by any means, obviously.
So, but obviously, when you don't tip,
Well, I mean, I'm tipping, obviously. I'm just not leaving 20% anymore. Like 20% used to be my baseline. Now, like depending on how much it is, it'll be like 15%. But typically speaking, I'll usually leave between
yeah,
18 to 20%. But it's going to be less the more the meal is, but not like by a what do you call it? A measurable amount, right? I don't feel any more guilt about that because it's like I'm not obligated to leave a 20 or 25% tip from a moral
yeah.
standpoint. There's nothing
So,
stopping me from leaving 15%. So
so
for
from
the
a
sake of
self
my
interest,
hmm?
yeah, but from a self interest standpoint, like if you're cutting back someone else's comp, because the extra, 5%, 6%, whatever, is a detriment to your self interest, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Well,
and
that's
I
their
think that the
problem, not
whole like
mine.
I'm talking about that. I'm talking about you.
Mhm.
That means the entire meal, okay,
Mhm.
is a burden to your self interest. right? If you have to cut back 5%, you're talking about $5, $10, $20, $30. If 5% is 50%, that means the entire meal is proving to be a detriment to your self interest.
Well, I mean, it
Right?
depends
Forget
on what
about,
you mean
forget
by
about the
self.
other worker.
It depends on what you mean by self-interest, because financially speaking, yeah, eating out is pretty expensive. But if we're talking about like psychological, mental, trying to adhere to a certain diet plan and letting yourself get like a cheat day in kind of thing, then I would argue no, it's not against my self-interest to indulge here and there.
Do you want to? This is a side note. Do you want a secret for the cheat day? You ready for this?
No, I'm a personal trainer actually.
So I was a power lifter all throughout college and like
You were a what now?
for a while. Power lifter.
Oh,
Like,
power
for
lifter,
UFC.
nice.
Yep. Yeah. So I'll tell you this is just a side note.
Mhm.
What I would do is like people always, they like The Rock has his cheat day, right? People would like emulate that concept.
He also takes
No,
steroids.
No, he's done.
Oh, he is?
Have you
Oh,
seen
yeah,
him?
that's right. I
Dude,
saw him
dude,
shrink. Holy shit, it was
looks
weird.
crazy. It's crazy. But I would buy a chocolate cake, like a small one,
Mhm.
and then I would eat 3 bites every single day after dinner.
That's good to hear.
That's what I would do. Yeah, because it kind of curbs like a craving. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like,
get that for sure.
But it's like the only way to do that is to ensure that you can do it, with that moderation in mind.
I made the fucked up mistake recently for like the past month or so to buy like 2 things of Tic Tacs every time I went to the grocery store and just eat a whole thing of them because I have a serious sweet tooth problem. Only for me to find out that the entire thing is just pure sugar.
Yeah, it's true. Are you?
I
So are you
didn't
training?
know it was just pure sugar.
Yeah, it's really not good.
Yeah.
So do you train for something specific, or do you just
I
train?
train for combat sports and I also do skill work for calisthenics. So like muscle ups. I'm working towards the front lever right now and the planche.
Yeah,
Handstand push-ups long term kind of thing.
yeah, that's awesome. I think people like look in the powerlifting world, guys just want to deadlift, squat, and bench, right? But calisthenics are so important. For the longest time, I started every workout with pull-ups and push-ups. And some people say that that's a good way to get fatigued, but I never got fatigued and like felt warmed up.
Mhm.
Well, listen, I don't think we disagree on too much. I think that
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like I definitively agree with you that. I mean, I just like maybe it's me projecting, but I think that all people operate in their own self-interest. Like,
Well, no, I agree with that. It's like just like I think it's like logically provable just based on the fact that like you ask a Christian why they're behaving according to God's will and it's going to be getting into heaven. Like if you were going to go to hell no matter what, why the hell would you follow God's Bible and rules or whatever,
yeah.
right? It doesn't make any logical sense.
I had this thought. I don't know if you've heard this, but Judaism, okay, in Judaism, there's no concept of hell. There's no concept of the devil or anything.
Really?
Demons, anything like that. No, zero, none. There's no
what the
concept. Like
fuck?
people say, oh, but in the Old Testament, like no, the Old Testament, like if you read the Torah as it's written, like it doesn't say the snake is Lucifer. Like that is a Christian invention. Okay, it just says the snake. Like, and the snake is just like literally showed this bitch was slimy. That's it. Okay, like it doesn't. It's not a metaphor for the devil. That concept doesn't exist in Judaism. So my point is, there was Judaism, there was Jesus, there's the creation of Christianity. So like these people that are saying like, oh, I'm with Jesus and like yada yada yada. Well, they created a religion that invented the concept of hell and demons and Satan and all these things. It's like they just make they're just buttons for punishment, I guess. Like they created something, and made it harder than it had to be.
Yep. It's pretty interesting stuff. I mean like it is pretty interesting stuff, but at the same time it's pretty, how do you put it? I'm a little bit tired right now, obviously.
That's right.
I hope I explained all my views well enough. If you need any clarification, you can always hit me up in DMs and stuff like that. And also definitely check out those if you can if you can digest German philosophy well enough, I think you'll get a kick out of Stirner's work personally.
But I'll check it out.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, you have a good one, man.
And have a good night.
Thanks. That was a good one. That was a good one. And I honestly should probably head to bed now because I am fucking pooped. So yeah, I'm gonna end the stream there, and all of y'all can have a good night. And I'll leave the stream up on YouTube, by the way, just so